Hi everyone, I'm coming to you from a Walmart parking lot in Fayetteville, West Virginia. This morning I left my RV space just north of Pittsburgh, where I'd spent the last, I think it was 54 days, July 1st through today, visiting friends and my son and grandchildren and daughter-in-law, and just had a phenomenal summer. Matter of fact, this will probably be a two-part series because I can't see how I can put it all together in one and not have it be an hour long, and nobody wants to sit and listen to me or watch me for an hour. So what I'm going to do is I am going to talk today about why am I going to Florida at the end of August, which is not exactly the right time to go into the South or deep South. Why in the world would I do something like that, and why Florida? So, and then part two of this, my intention there is to go through the individual steps that you need in order to become a resident of a new state. When I sold my home back in March, I no longer had a physical presence in the state. I have a mailing address in the state. Lots and lots of businesses and other people who use mail services, so there's nothing unique or new about that. Very easy to accomplish, so that's what I've done for New Hampshire. The question is, why would I want then to become a resident of another state? Well, New Hampshire is very unfriendly to full-time RVers, where you really don't have any kind of physical address, not real or imagined or anything. So when it comes time for me to register my vehicle, and certainly to register my trailer, which need to be done by the end of this month, and this is the 23rd of August, so there's not a whole lot of month left. So anyway, if not in New Hampshire, if I can't register in New Hampshire, where can I get a valid license plate from another state? And there are several that make it very easy or relatively easy to become a resident, knowing that you probably are not going to be full-time in the state. You may spend very little time in the state. And one of those happens to be Florida. The other two primary examples are South Dakota, which is extremely easy to deal with, and Texas. Those are probably in Florida. Those are the three primary ones. And some people choose Nevada. There's some reasons I guess Nevada makes sense. We'll take a look at how much sales tax did you pay versus how much sales tax the new state charges. And if there's a discrepancy, they'll charge you a little bit more, or in many cases, like in the case of South Dakota, their sales tax is only 4%. So almost everywhere that has a sales tax, you will have paid more than 4%, so that's why it's so easy up there. Florida, I believe, is 7%, and I think Texas is a little over 7%. So if coming from New England, as long as you've paid 7-8% sales tax, you're going to be fine in any state. However, this is the problem, and this is unique. For people like New Hampshire residents, Delaware residents, Oregon residents, and I'm sure there's some others that I'm not familiar with, do not have a sales tax. Well, that's great when I was buying the property, but now when I'm ready to register in a different state, I'm going to have zero offset. So that just rules out about everybody, you know. So that would take me back to South Dakota, because South Dakota is only 4. Why would I end up in Florida, which has a 7? Florida, come to find out, passed a rule some time ago, and I verified this with the tax office in Sumter County to make sure it was true. If you have owned the property more than 6 months, then they don't charge anything. Well, that answers the question as to where I'm going to become a resident. Why do we even need to worry about it? And the answer is there's a lot of good reasons. One, you've got to have a license from some state. In order to get a license, you've got to have an address in that state. So that's step number one. And of course, you need to have license plates on the back of your vehicle and the back of your travel trailer or fifth wheel or motorhome or whatever it is you happen to be using. So for those purposes, you really do need to have a domicile. The other reason is, of course, voting. There's a lot of good reasons to domicile. You need to have a state. Florida seems to be the one that's going to work out best for me, so I'm looking forward to that. Hey, here I am in Florida. I got here Sunday. By the time I had gotten set up though and acclimated to the weather, because it's in the low 90s here, I had about had it. There was an ice cream social Sunday afternoon around 4 o'clock, so I did go to that and meet some of my neighbors, which was a lot of fun. Some of the things that I needed to do on Monday yesterday were to get my residency set up and get a mailing address, and that for some reason I just was hazy on how important it was. It really is step number one before you can get an insurance policy. They want to have an address, and certainly before you register and get your driver's license at the DMV, they want to have an address as well. So I took care of that yesterday. I had to get a couple of forms notarized and had them notarize the form for my mail service, so that they could open my mail and read it or scan it or do whatever I want them to do with it. And took care of that, and then there needed to be a form that I attested to the fact that yes, indeed, I am a Florida resident. And so I got those done and overnighted into Texas. The folks that are on the legal end of things, as far as declaring a residency, it's good to have relationships here. So I just happened to have a dermatological appointment on Thursday. But in any event, anything that you can do in your new location to help to determine or to solidify the fact that you are indeed a Floridian helps. So anyway, what I'll do now is shut up and walk around the campground. It's really very pretty. They've had so much rain, it's a flooded part of the park. When you get back into that green area back there, that's the actual cypress bog. That's where the alligators supposedly live. I was told that they're up to 6-7 feet in there. They've seen there are some the smaller 3-foot ones. Those are the ones apparently you need to be careful. They can be a little more aggressive. Tomorrow, what do I hope to accomplish? First off, I overnighted my packet of information to the mail service so that I could get a actual permanent physical address here in Florida. They're telling me they can turn that around in about a day, and so what I asked them to do is to email me then with some attachments, the welcome letter and the confirmation letter that this is my permanent address. And then once that happens, I'm going to first tomorrow morning, and I'll recoup this probably in part 2, but just so you know what's going on next time, is I'm going to be visiting an insurance agent. Florida requires coverage on the automobile, so I'll take care of that. And then I hope to go to the office where I can get both my vehicle registered and a Florida license plate. I found out, didn't know this, I found out that Florida doesn't actually have a DMV like I assume most states do. Instead, everything's done at the local tax office, so I'll be headed off to the tax office to pay whatever registration fees I need for my truck, and then I'll be going, or probably at the same place, maybe a different counter, I'll need to try to get my Florida driver's license. So hang in for part 2, and hopefully that will be tomorrow, all dependent upon, do I get that permanent address tomorrow, or do I get it Thursday?